Well, welcome to the 7 o'clock talk tonight. Let me get this situated right where we can see each other. Tonight, we're going to talk about geocaching, and this is something that Jessica and I have been doing now for the past few weeks, and it's really fun. It's inexpensive, costs you what, time and gas money. And so you can make it as in depth or as uh, whatever you want to do. I'm going to upload some pictures here while we're waiting. And so uh, you've read all the rules and everything. You want to give them some background on what they say there?
I don't know that I remember every rule, but basically, you're not supposed to be on private property. And if there is one on private property, they would have had to have asked for permission, hopefully. It can't be 300 feet from water, and they have to be at least 520 some feet from each other. They can't be buried. You can't dig a hole. You can't put a nail in a tree. You can't deface anything.
What else was it? I mean, there were.
Leave it better than you found it. Some of the caches are quite large compared to like the little micro nano thingies, where it literally has a teeny tiny log sheet in it, and they're literally about the size of a dime, but they're only about a half-inch long. Usually those are magnetic, and the bigger ones, they're supposed to be see-through so that people know that there's nothing in there that's going to hurt them. They can't resemble a bomb. It's best to put a geocaching sticker on them, but you don't have to. You can't advertise using them. So the bigger ones, they put trinkets in. So if you take something, you have to leave something of equal value. You have to sign the logbook and do it online, or you didn't do it.
That's kind of a biggie because there's a lot of logbooks that are wet, and so
Yep.
you got to kind of report those.
And so we bought a bunch of stuff. So as we were reading comments and things, a lot of people fix them as they go. So if they find a cache that is wet, they actually will get replace it with. They'll leave it if they can, and they put a dry one in, and they put them in little clear baggies. Anyway, so we just tried to be good stewards of it because we have a lot of fun, and so we've got different things coming so we can create them ourselves. And I have one coming that we wanted to make that was a little bigger so we could put like little trinkets in it, stickers and animals and things like that for people that find it. So if you go out to maintain it, it should always have a logbook in there that people can sign. If there was 50 trinkets in there when you start out, there should be at least 50 trinkets when you go to look at it. Otherwise, people aren't following the rules. So if you start doing that, be kind. And if you want to partake in taking the little trinkets, make sure you have trinkets with you to replace them with. And so now we have a bag. So we have all different sizes of log books from 1/2 inch all the way to 1.25 inches. And we got Ziploc baggies coming specifically for them. And we've got little mini pens. We've got trinkets. We have little toys, stickers, just fun things to add. And so we can help them maintain their things.
Their caches as well. So what you're seeing on the screen there, that is actually the app that we use, that green one called Geocaching. And we are Indiana Backdock. I've had this since before 2012. And so we've just continued on that one. The one in the middle, the Adventure Lab, that one has taught us an awful lot of our area. You heard us talking last week or 2 weeks ago about we found a cemetery that is considered to be one of the oldest cemeteries in Columbus, and she had no idea it existed, and it was in the middle of a subdivision, and then it took us to another one in the middle of a subdivision. So the Adventure Lab is just kind of like an add-on pack, which is kind of neat. And in the geocaching app, what you see is right here. You see those little green circles? Those green circles are actual caches, and you can tap on one of those and that'll highlight it, and then you can hit the navigate button and it'll get you to the general area. And she's a lot better at doing all the in-depth reading. She loves to dig in, and so we'll get to a place and she'll start reading all the logs, because that's where you get hints, right? More hints.
Well, you can read this. They all have a story, so if you read this story, a lot of times they're giving you hints, and sometimes they have a hint, but a lot of times you can down through, so you're always supposed to log it. Some people take a picture, and somebody might make a comment about, well, this is a really great hide or something, and I just pay attention.
So as we look at those, when you go through there and look at those, hold on, let me count something.
Anyway, so you can actually find these right on the road, so there's no rules for them being like so far off the road. And we have found some tricky hides, and they've been excellent.
So when you tap on the green thing and you navigate it, when you find it, you hit I found it, and as you log that you found it and you sign the book, then it turns to that yellow.
It's always a smiley face.
Yeah, to the yellow in the iOS. Is it the same in your Android?
Yeah, it's always the same. It's a yellow smiley face. And if you've looked everywhere and you just can't find it, then it turns blue with a sad face.
Yeah, and that's a DNF, did not find.
And so if you get into these, they talk about muggles. And so you're supposed to be very stealthy in your searches. And so you're not supposed to let people know what you're doing. So you're supposed to be very quiet about your find and your searching.
Sneaky.
Be sneaky and make sure you always put it back exactly as you found it.
And when if you look at this picture, you see the blue question mark down at the bottom. That blue question mark is one of those adventures, and it'll take you to several of them. The green ones that you see that are just like the little box, those are just caches. You'll go there, you read the story, you do whatever you want to do, and then you move on.
Well, and there's some virtual ones, so that there's caches that aren't actually tangible. You can't pick them up. You just have to go to the area, and then it'll ask you questions about what you're seeing or what you're looking at, or if there's numbers on something, or like what's the first name of the photographer that took this picture or whatever. Or you might come to a monument and you have to read the monument, and then it'll ask you like what's the third word of the second line or whatever. And so you keep answering the questions, and when you answer the question properly, it moves you on to another one. And then when you get to the end and you've answered all of it correctly, a lot of times all of them will turn yellow. And then sometimes you have to take a picture of yourself at the last location and prove that you actually were there doing it. And then the owner of that cache actually will take care of it for you.
And so when you find it, it pops up, congratulations, 20 finds. You get little virtual trinkets too, and little gifts. You get
treasures, trinkets. I don't know. There's a few things. I think we're up to like 27, but we thought we were excited when we found our 50th, and it made this big ordeal on our our screen. But then we were looking, and some of these people have been searching, and they have over 18, 19, 20,000. Yeah. And some of them are just way off. And so we went to the coordinates of one thing. It was legit way off. And so Trevor's like, I think it's over here. And so that's one time where I have to sit down, and it really makes you think about the area that you're looking at and how you're looking at it. And so it teaches your brain to look at the area totally different. And so he was like, no, it's here, it's here, it's here. And I was like, I don't think so. So that's when I started reading the story. So they usually always come with a story. Like, we've been to several memorial ones, and they were super sweet. And so I take the time to run down the rabbit hole. So there was one close to us. There was a cross on the side of the road that I've lived here my whole life, and I've probably seen that thousands of times and never registered that it was there. And so it was a young lady. She was 18 years old. She had just graduated high school. She was on her way to take her entrance exams for college. She was the most beautiful redhead girl, and she was killed at 12:01 in the afternoon. She had ran off the road and hit a telephone pole. So somebody that she worked with actually created that case.
Wasn't it her uncle?
No, it was the person that she worked with that started the case, and they created the memorial. Her uncle actually, you can add things to people's things on. Anyway, there's a beautiful cross there. Of course, you can't see it, and so typically you're supposed to leave the area better than you found it. So if you get there and there's trash, pick the trash up. Now there was a lot of weeds, but we didn't have anything to clear it with. But her tennis shoes were hanging there, her jewelry, just tokens and mementos that people had left for her. But anyway, we ran down the whole rabbit hole of trying to figure out who she was and what she was all about. And now when I drive by the spot, I see the cross, and not only do I see the cross, I see the girl. And that's neat because it keeps the memory of that person alive. She was very, very vibrant. But we've been to all kinds of little places. Like we've been to the cemeteries, and we've learned about people's loved ones, and we've learned a little bit about their stories. So there's a cache around Columbus, and it's associated with a set of twins. One twin didn't make it. The one twin at the time that it was revised was still thriving. And so, of course, I ran down all those little rabbit holes, and you find out a little bit about their stories and who they were and what they look like. And that's always fun. And then some of them, they are just wanting to bring you to a spot that'll teach you something about history, or just bring you to a beautiful spot that meant something to them in their lifetime. Just all kinds of stuff. But you always learn about, I feel like you always learn something, whether it's a new spot to adventure, or something about history, or something significant about the area, or the person that created it, or it was created for. But some of them are kind of hard. And so we got to this one, and it was, I don't know if it was an abandoned school or if it was a school that now is a apartment building. We never could figure it out, but it basically was an old school. It was called the Oaks. And so Trevor's mind, it just tells you how people think differently. Trevor's mind went to oak trees. And so I was searching the oak trees, but then the other things weren't lining up. So it was talking about, you might sit down, be careful about the people that would be walking their dogs, be careful about football games, but it'll enlighten your path. So I sat down on the steps, and I was looking around, and so there was a field, a track. And so I'm like, oh, well, they would play football inside of that track. People could walk around that track. And so then I sat on the steps. While he was on the other side of the street looking at the oak trees. I'm sitting here on this track. And I never even realized that the place was called the Oaks. He's seen that later. But so then I was looking around, and then I realized, like, the enlighten your path. There's these lamp, like the big stadium lights, and there was only two that weren't that were like close where you could actually walk to them. And so I walked right up to it. And then once you get there, once you find several, your eye trains where you see what's not, it's out of place. You don't know why, it's just out of place. And it could be exactly what you're looking for, but you just, I don't know, you just get to where you start looking at things differently. But anyway, Trevor was like way off. I had to text him. I couldn't even see him anymore. Like, I found it. And he's like, what? How did you do that?
So
anyway, it's just fun.
So this is an example of one. And when you're looking at this, and I'm breaking one of the rules of giving something away, but if you go to West Virginia,
no, don't tell him where it's at.
Well, I just gave them the state. So when you're looking around, as you look at that picture of that beam with the big bolt, what you don't do is I looked at this and looked at this and looked at this and didn't think anything about it for the longest time. And then let me stop sharing that one and I will close that and I'll come back here. Then I was like feeling around.
Yep, you have to touch. You learn to explore.
Hi, Zoe. And so that was the cache. And I broke one of the rules, but you just got to think about these things. And when you go shopping because you want to place a cache, you start to see all the little ingenious little things that they have. But that was one. And then you just really get to go to a lot of cool places. Here we're looking, and they had a great hint, and you had to look, and you had to look around, and that's Jessica signing the. That is Jessica signing the logbook after she found it. We got to go see a state capitol, and it gave you a beautiful view. So around West Virginia, what was that? Something closer to heaven or dream or something?
Almost heaven.
Almost heaven. They
There were
have
swings. So the story is there's 9 swings, and the state put them in scenic areas to draw attention to the beautiful scenery and things they wanted to highlight. This one is the swing is actually on a campus that overlooks the river that overlooks the Capitol, and they have these photo spots. So they went as far as like putting in the like stands where you and tell you exactly where to put your cell phone so that you can actually take your own picture with the stuff in the background, which is really cool. There's just a lot of neat stuff because these aren't just put groups sponsor these, different people sponsor them. It's just a neat hobby.
They have one of the things that we saw was an art walk. And so you had to go walk around this few block area. And as you walked around the few block area, you got to find all of these things. And like she said, they tell you stories. But ultimately, why are we telling you this? Because this is all to get you outside. Go get outside, be in nature.
Not only are you outside, you're moving, but you're also training your brain to think differently. And it's an exercise. It's like crossword puzzles. It's some of these are mysteries. So there's mystery finds. There's some of them that so everybody can partake in the. I think there's a public free one. You can have a premium. I don't really know what that opens up to.
You can do the geocaching basic, and it just doesn't cost you anything. It just has a few that you can find. If you do the premium, then it opens up a whole bunch more and has a few more benefits.
And then on the app, it actually takes you to points of interest. You may not find a cache there at all, but you will find
points of interest. What was that one? I don't remember that one. It was the red.
It's a French fry.
Oh, okay.
So people get really, really creative on their caches. So this one was a pill bottle that was wrapped in red duct tape. And then it had a toy that had a hole in the middle, which was French fries. And it had a really great story. He walked by it and I'm like, it has to be right there. Anyway, we're not going to tell you how or where we found that or where it was at. But anyway, you learn as you go, and we're not going to tell you because that's the fun of it.
Part of it,
is learning how to look for things. And so I like to read. I like to read between the lines or what they're not saying, and usually the answer is there.
And here you get to see some railway stuff, a Bethlehem steel. This was part of that bolt that I saw, and they tell you the history and the story. So if you like that kind of stuff, it's really, really cool.
And so a lot of them, some of them you can just pull into a parking lot and find. A lot of them you cannot. Like you have to adventure and go up trails.
This one had an interesting story, and it's probably Jessica's favorite find because you had to there were a bunch of these G's around. You had to find the G's, and then Jess was way over to the
have it?
side.
Do you have the picture?
I don't know that I have the picture.
So this was the
and you were way over here, and I was like, "There's a whole bunch of G's."
Yeah, they were. It was you had to read the story, and it led us. This is where there wasn't anything special. And if you can blow this, if you can't blow this up, but if you could,
yeah,
you will find that it was the tiniest sculpture in this particular city, and we're not going to tell you where it is. But if you could look, if you go follow my finger all the way to the top. Whoever was a sculptor in the area, who knows when, I have no idea, but they have actually sculpted a little teeny tiny man that's looking over a brick, and it was absolutely the greatest.
I'm trying to find a picture of him and all.
But I don't want you
there he is.
I don't want you to. I don't want it to show that. Oh, you already just showed it to him.
No, I didn't.
I don't want you to show him this.
It's not shared. And so as I pull this up, let's see if I can get this so that you can't see the whole deal here. And they're not going to allow us. There we are. Let me share this little bit.
So if you follow my finger all the way to the very top, and this is like a really tall building, and I was so tickled by this. My children thought I was crazy. It was so hot, and we had walked, but at the top of that was this little teeny tiny thing, and he probably wasn't more than 2 or 3 inches. It was the best.
And so you see him, and you know that you found it, and then you had to take a picture,
and then you had to do a little quiz. So you couldn't have just found a picture. You had to do something else. And so they had to know that you were there and you were actually finding it. But it was great.
So, if you're in Jennings County, there's a ton of these things, and there's a ton of them in Muscatatuck Park.
Well, and not only that, there's a ton of them along the interstate. So they're usually on pull off. So it forces you to get out of your car and walk. So,
which is a good idea.
Yeah.
You shouldn't sit more than an hour in your car.
We can't go anywhere now and get there fast. It takes us all day to get there because we're looking to see how many we can collect along the way. And so if we are on a time crunch, we have to stop and get it and get back in the car and go. But you learn something about where you stop. You see things, you learn about the area as far as whatever their story is, and then you exercise your feet, your legs, your brain, and we get back in and move on. But if we stop and we have a couple hours to kill, and you think, wow, that's a long time, but actually it's not a long time because it gets so exciting that you just got to find more and more.
Those are all the ones around Columbus. So there's a ton of them here around Columbus. So just something fun. If you're bored and you want something to do, it beats sitting inside.
Yeah, don't sit and play video games and get fat and diabetes.
And
get up off your butt and move. Yeah,
watching television. I mean, there's so many people just sit on the couch and scroll, or they're watching their TV.
Well, and when we find ourselves doing that, we're like, let's get on. We'll figure out where we can go, and then we go in the rain. We've just had a great time.
So highly recommend it. But once again, when we talk about the pillars of health and you're looking at sleep, good sleep starts the night before, getting into bed early and having a routine to wind down. And then after you do that, you wake up early and you just start to get into that habit and that cycle. And guess what? If you're getting out and you're running around and you're getting some exercise, you will want to sleep. So if you have problems with sleep initiation, that's good. And if you do a lot of climbing, like we were up and down hills, we slept like the dead this weekend in a hotel. And then, nutrition, just eat well. That's all I can say about that. And then when you're walking around and you're looking for these things and you're laughing and, anything can be turned into a chore. Anything that you put pressure on yourself about, and if you're getting mad and you're getting short, you need to quit and stop and take a break and wait until you're not.
Well, and another thing on this, we're talking about community. There's groups. There's caching groups. There's geocaching groups, and they meet up and they go and they do it together. So if you are moving to a new area and you don't have a lot of friends or you don't know how to meet them, there's usually a geocaching group somewhere. Just go online and look, and you might find a new set of friends.
And with that said, well, stress, community, she covered. So with that said, you all have a great night, and we'll see you next time.